Now, why are so many Europeans against a free trade deal with the United States? After all, free trade sounds good, lowering barriers to trade, reducing tariffs, making the market for goods and services bigger and easier. Yet thousands of people are protesting in Brussels, following the example of hundreds of thousands of Germans this weekend. So what's their problem? Elena Casas is in Brussels with this look.
European farmers say their livelihoods are hanging by a thread, and a free trade deal with the US would be the last straw. And these marchers say TTIP will undermine European regulations and destroy jobs, and they may be on the edge of victory. French President François Hollande says he won't sign TTIP in its current form, while the German Foreign Minister has said the deal is dead in the water.
If now people are saying that the deal is dead, that's because there's a citizens' movement that has gained in strength and size over the years. But we're not idiots. We won't stop protesting because it's dead. We know that the similar deal with Canada is still on the table and represents the same dangers.
CETA, the EU's deal with Canada, was meant to be signed off before the summer, but all 28 European parliaments now need to ratify it. Some trade experts say the European Union has invested too much time and political capital into free trade negotiations to give up now.
I would say it's too early to say it's dead in the water. Saying that the political context could be more favorable is an understatement. There's a lot of barriers to overcome, such as the political mistrust of some of the EU citizens.
That mistrust was largely created by activists like this, exposing aspects of the deal that weren't widely known by the public in Europe, like arrangements to allow corporations to sue member states in secret courts. The European Commission says it still has a mandate from the member states to continue negotiating TTIP with the Americans, and it expects all 28 countries to ratify the deal with Canada. But it looks increasingly like public opinion is not behind them.
And Elena joins us live now from Brussels. Elena, have the European farmers and other protesters who are worried about their jobs given any actual substantive reasons why this trade agreement would be bad for them?
Well, essentially, they believe that it will allow American companies to undermine European regulation, which they certainly feel protects their jobs. For example, farmers are very concerned that American farmers are going to be allowed to import genetically modified produce into the European Union. GM produce is completely banned in Europe, of course. It cannot be produced here, but they're very concerned that it will be cheaper and that the new regulations will allow them to undermine these sort of rules, not just over GM, but over a whole range of health and environmental legislation. That means that here in Europe, we probably have the strictest legislation, especially about food and agriculture in the world. There are plenty of boxes that farmers need to tick before their produce can go on sale in supermarkets, and they're very concerned that American farmers will be able to undermine some of these regulations and thus undercut the market.
Right, OK, and we heard an expert in your report there saying that the political context is unfavourable, and that would be an understatement. What does he mean by that?
Well, he meant two things, essentially. One is the amount of people who've turned out onto the streets across Europe to protest against it. You may even still be able to hear them behind me. There are tens of thousands of people massed in front of the European Commission. And the second thing is that partly because of the amount of pressure that those people have managed to put on governments, a number of European governments in key countries have turned decisively against TTIP. This is when just a few months ago most countries were behind it. But now, for example, France, the French President François Hollande has said he will not sign TTIP in its current form. One of the key reasons for that is that he's trying to protect protected wine and cheese names like, say, champagne or cheeses like camembert, which are protected under European law. They can only be produced in certain parts of France under certain methods, and he's worried that that law will be undermined by imports from America. Even the Germans, who are normally great advocates of free trade, are starting to turn against TTIP. They're starting to think a deal which suits all 28 EU countries and the US just cannot be done now.
OK, Elena, thank you very much from Brussels.